welcome to My Life as a Dad. Today's guest is Allan Dalton. How did you balance when you're in your throes of, obviously entrepreneurs, you're entrepreneur forever.
Right.
I understand that.
Right.
But when you're really driving and building your business and having your family, how did you balance that work and family with them? I mean, there's sports, takes a lot of time. I mean, there's a lot of things that are involved. How do you do that?
The way that I balanced it was probably not a good way to balance it because, just this opportunity to share with others this extremely important subject that I think the country and the world is basically underserved by. I wish that when I was a young father that I had access to this type of perspective from a range of fathers, because there wasn't the internet, and I grew up in a neighborhood where there were very rigid roles, gender roles that were passed down that were not as evolved as today. So that meant that the way I balanced things was probably improperly balanced, because back then, to my chagrin today, I viewed my role almost completely being the provider, going out into the jungle, hunting for the food, and my wife Carol being responsible for the early on development of the children. And so I confused then, I don't now in retrospect, especially having the second opportunity to engage children as a granddad, but I confused rather the difference between loving your children, being in love with your children, caring for your children, and caring about your children versus caring for your children.
Right.
So I was very, very removed of my own volition in terms of the maintenance, the nurturing, sharing of the parental duties in the early age. In fact, I was completely oblivious of it. So I went through that period without even a modicum of guilt, because that was the role that I envisioned. I'm 65 now, so you look back. That was the role then of my father, his father, men in the neighborhood. I mean, I grew up in a neighborhood where you'd see men in the afternoon sitting in bar rooms and their mothers taking care of 6 or 7 kids. And so it was just egregious in terms of the unfairness that women back then were subjected to, especially in the area where I grew up in Dorchester, that was not as evolved in terms of the concept of mutual parenting. And so the balance that I had is that I didn't balance it. I was just incredibly relentless and pathologically focused on what I had to do in my career and business. And then I was also very selfish because I had been drafted by the Celtics early. I got cut. I played basketball in Europe, and I didn't give up my obsession with basketball. I'd be playing in like 3 or 4 leagues while my wife was taking care of the kids every night. So that's why when you asked me, is your first question, what do I owe the duration of our marriage to? It's completely because of the graciousness and the selflessness of Carol and her understanding that she had to do so much of that on her own.